Hi, I'm Richard Rogers, and I absolutely hope that you enjoy today's spiritual message. You know, we at Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center are committed to helping people live better lives. We're going to provide you tools over and over, spiritual tools that allow you to live your best possible life. And if you want to leave a donation to continue to allow the work that we do to support other people just like you, we say thank you. Thank you for your generosity, because this ministry is committed to making the world a better place.
Okay, so this is week 4 on tidying up. How many of you really feel like your life is cleaner because you've been here? How many of you are just so sick and tired of talking about tidying up that you're ready to move on? I had somebody, I think they left. Are you still talking about tidying up? I'm out of here if you're talking about tidying up one more time, right? So we've been, in fact, can I tell you a story? Somewhere between home and wherever is my Marie Kondo book. So apparently I've tidied up to the point where I've even let go of her book. So tonight I am doing it book free. So if you haven't read it, oh well, all right? So there are really 5 areas that she suggests that we look at. The first one is clothes. The second one is books, papers, kimono, which is kind of everything else. And that's what we're going to focus on tonight, and sentimental items. Now, why is this important? How many of you believe at some level that we live in an abundant universe? Right? How many of you have realized that maybe there's areas in your life where you realize that you have way too much stuff? Right? So I want to be in that sweet spot where we absolutely know that we live in an abundant universe, but not all of it has to fit in our garage. Can I get an amen? Right? Because I don't think excess is inherently spiritual. Right? Does that make sense? Like there was a time when spiritual people went and lived in a monastery or a cave or whatever, and they had their little mat and they had their little bowl, and maybe if they were really wealthy, they had a stool to go with it. And that was what they thought living the spiritual life looked like, right? So am I teaching that I want you to get down to 3 things? Well, if those 3 things all give you joy, then yes, right? But what I want you to see is in our culture, we've gone so far to the extreme that we have so much stuff, right? And that we're not really conscious and awake to how much of that stuff is really serving us and how much of that stuff is bringing us down. So I wanted to do a whole 4 weeks on just being conscious about how much stuff do you need. Now, I'm not saying that we don't live in an abundant universe. We do, right? But it's really a place of discernment to decide how much stuff is really serving you and when you've gone way past your optimum sweet spot. How many of you can see that some of you went past your optimum sweet spot when you were like 23? Right? Can you see that? Like if I was trying to graph it, it's really hard to do a 3-dimensional graph, right? It's just hard. So I'm gonna try, right? So imagine this is your age, right? So wherever it is, right? Imagine this is your amount of stuff, okay? So this one's your age. This is your stuff. And now I want to do another one, which is your energy, okay? So this is energy. So what I want you to see is there's a point here where your age and your stuff and your energy were all at their peak point. Does that make sense? But your stuff kept going as your age did, and what happens is your energy started to peak down. And some of you have reached that point with me, right? Where you realized that there was a time in the past where you had more energy than you do most days. Can I get an amen from this house? Right? So what's curious to me is I'm wondering out loud is if our stuff stopped here as well, whether we could actually have this our stuff curve and this our energy curve, to see if we're not in service to our stuff, does it actually create more energy in your life? How many of you have ever walked into a room or your garage or opened a door and been totally overwhelmed by what you just saw? Right? So if we live in an abundant universe, I really want us to be consciously aware of how much stuff do we need to really live at our optimum level. Because other cultures have less stuff and they appear still to be happy. Right? If you've ever been to Europe, the tendency in Europe is to have, they don't have 50 outfits or 500 outfits. But the clothes, like in Italy, they maybe have 5 or 10 outfits, but all of them are beautiful. Like, and they fit, right? And they fit well, right? Right? And so what we tend to do in this culture is go for mass, and we're not always as concerned about quality. And what if instead of having closets upon, how many of you use a closet like me that's not in the room where your bed is? Because 2 people cannot fit all their stuff, right, in the one closet that is in that room. So, right? I know the feeling, brother. I know the feeling, right? You need to be in this room over here, right? Absolutely. So I'm a bit on a tangent here, but I want you to really see, what if we've gone so far past our sweet spot that we're actually spending energy every day to manage our stuff instead of letting our stuff support us. And you think, well, Richard, that's kind of a nice thought, but is it really important? I think we're drowning. I literally think we're drowning in our stuff. And yet we're so attached, we're so addicted to it, that we find it really hard to let it go. And I really think that if we spend a year doing this, we could literally spend a year until we created a new mindset of how much stuff we really need. Like in your pots and pan drawer, do you even know what's in the back of your pots and pan drawer? Anybody? Right? Anybody in the back of their spice, wherever you keep your spices, actually know what's back there? What form of mold is growing in the back of your spice drawer, right? And so what I want you to see over and over again is, I don't think that we're being served. Now, am I suggesting that you get one mat and one bowl and one little stool? No. That I want it to work for you. But I want to find where your spot is. Because most of us have gone beyond it. Okay, are you with me on that? So the first week we worked on clothes. Second week we worked on books. Last week we worked on papers. And now we're going to talk about kimono, which is like everything else. That's like your garage. Well, let's just go through it one at a time. Lily, throw up the PowerPoint, will you? So the first thing I want you to look at in kimono is, how many of you have a box of CDs or DVDs somewhere in your house that either you've already digitized and are part of your playlist, or have been so old, so long that you know they're there, but you haven't watched a movie in that box in 100 years? Anybody? This week we are taking on our CDs and our DVDs. Now, I know that some of you have CDs and cassettes of me. Let them go, baby. Let them go. I am better today than I was last year or 5 years ago. Let them go. Well, Richard, don't you want them? I love it when people bring a box of me to me and say to me, don't you want you back? No. I have boxes of me, right, that are cassettes for the first 14 years I was here, like that are undigitized, that are actually on their way out the door. The parting gift the church gave to me was every cassette I had ever done while I was here. It's a boat anchor. It just let it go, all right? So how many of you know where your boxes of CDs in your closet, in your garage, wherever they are? This week we are going after them. Is that a fair deal? Like if you haven't taken the time to digitize it, you're not going to. Is that true? So you've got 1 week to let go of all your CDs and all your DVDs. The BGs, you can now get them online and just download it when you want to barely alive it, right? You don't need to keep every old CD, okay? Let's go to new. Skincare products. When I read this, I had no idea what she's talking about. I had to go to Jill and say, Jill, do you have a lot of skincare products? Because I don't think I have any, right? And she said, well, I don't have a lot, but yes, right? How many of you have skincare products that are taking up shelves and drawers? Is there any man that has skincare products? I'm just not, I don't, thank you, sir, for your honesty. That's not a big thing, but if you have skincare products, this is your month. Do you have skincare products that you don't use? Now, do you have skincare products that you spend a lot of money on that you don't use? That we're supposed to, like what, get rid of the wrinkles or what? Tan and firm, lift and separate, what were they supposed to do? Right? So no matter how much you spend on them, if you don't use them, are they helping? No, let them go. Okay, skincare products. 3, I think 3 is makeup. Go to 3, where's 3? There's 3, makeup. So apparently makeup and skincare products are 2 different things. I didn't know, right? I thought it was all the same, all right? So how many of you have makeup that it's time to let go of? Like the nasty stuff, the stuff at the bottom, like the makeup bag that you carry around, that nasty stuff at the bottom that like grows and walks on its own, right? We are letting that stuff go. It is gone. Makeup, accessories. Now, this is where I am going to tell myself. So I went through this week. I went through my accessories, and I like have 4 belts. But the thing that got me was baseball caps. How many guys have more than 5 baseball caps? Man, and I only wear them when I haven't washed my hair, right? So my baseball caps can really literally walk out the door on their own, right? So it's only So whatever your accessories are, how many of you know you have a problem with accessories? Like you have too many. One lady in the back. Thank you for your honesty. Another lady, right? So you're fessing up to this one? All right. So this week we're going after her accessories, right? Scarves, belts, all the accessories, hats, all the accessories. All right. Then the other thing is valuables. So let's talk about valuables. They're valuable. Okay, one of the things she talks about, wait, stay with me. She talks about our coins. How many of you have coins all over your house? Her whole thing is let them go, right? Actually turn them into money that you use. Right? Take them to the bank, take them wherever, and not just have money lying around. Because what does that say to the universe that you have money just lying around? Are you taking your money seriously? Right? So if you have a penny, she said, that most of the people that she's worked with have a bag of coins in their closet. Right? I don't, but maybe, right? I have my coin jar, but, right? And I don't even get to keep that. Right? So I want you to look at all your valuables to make sure that you're honoring and making sure that energy is used the most effective way. Now this number 6 is really the one I got after myself about. How many of you have a box of electric cords to things you no longer own? Right? Right? And this is where I found my CD for my EXP, my XP operating system. I can't tell you the last time. It's been at least 10 years that I've used an XP operating system, right? And I have cords to computers In fact, I found 2 sets of cords to the same computer that I don't even have anymore, right? So how many of you have games that you don't play online? Video games, thank you, video games. So all of that's going. Old manuals, old CD-ROMs, old floppy disk. It's time to let it go, right? It is time to let it go. All right, 7, household equipment. If you're active in the kitchen, I guarantee it that you have household equipment that you never use, right? How many Vegematics have never seen the light of day, right? So we are letting all this go, right? And I want to keep coming back to the spiritual principle, right? Like the idea is that I really want to live a spiritual life. That I want to make sure that all the energy in my life is actually serving me and I'm not wasting it. Okay, let's kind of break this down. Hold that, I'm going to keep going. But I want you to see, like, can we agree that everything is energy? Everything is energy, right? 2, that energy can only take one form at a time. Right? So if everything is energy, your Vegematic is energy. Is that true? Now, the energy in your Vegematic cannot serve you in any other way but be a Vegematic. Is that true? So say you have a goal or a healing or you have a desire or a dream, and you want all the energy available to you to put in that direction, your Vegematic is not helping. That's really why Jesus wore one robe. That was it. That's all he had. Maybe a toothbrush, right? But that was it. That's all he had, because he wanted all of his energy available all the time to do the miracles, to do the work that he was called to do in that moment, that he didn't want one bit of energy being wasted in things that he didn't need at the time, because he knew that in a moment he could create whatever he wanted. So everything is energy, and energy can only take one form at a time. Now, the third one that kind of people want to argue about is that every individual only gets a finite amount of energy every day. How many of you have heard that energy, especially God, is infinite? How many of you believe that God is infinite? But I want you to see that the Lord's Prayer says, give us this day our daily bread. That every day we get a finite amount of energy to do the will and the work of God for that day. We don't get an infinite supply. It's more than enough to do whatever we're called to do, but it's not an infinite supply. So we actually have to be mindful about how we use and store our energy to be the most effective that we can be. That what I want you to see today is that most of us have so much energy that could be put toward a goal, toward a desire, toward creating the next level of our life, if we weren't getting crushed by our outfits that we don't wear. Right? There's nothing wrong with having 15 closets full of clothes if that's the way you want to use your energy. But most of us are not making a conscious choice that that's how we're going to spend our energy. Most of us are creating unconsciously, and we're creating more and more stuff unconsciously. There was an article, or there was a commercial on the radio as I was coming to church tonight, that was, have you heard the Awesome Box? Anybody hear that commercial for the Awesome Box? I think it's $45 a month where they send you a box of awesome. Right? Now, they kind of give you a little profile, I guess, about who you are, and they send you a box of awesome. And they were sharing that some of the box of awesome was vinyl records. One month, because it's like a book of the month club. It's an awesome box a month for $45. And one time they said they sent out throwing knives and like it was like smoking your food package, right? $45, and they send you a box of junk every week or every month, right? Now, I don't usually talk bad about stuff. I try not to anyway. Sometimes I get a little ahead of myself. But what I want you to see is if you have $45 too much every month, that you want somebody just to send you a box of stuff that you may not want or need or even know what to do with, I want you to really look at the values in your life, right? Because you can do it. But I want you to see that your energy is a sacred gift from God. And that we have more than enough energy to create a world that literally is beautiful and brilliant and amazing. But we're getting stuck in sales and junk and we're letting the crummy and the inadequate fill up all the space that was really devoted to the sacred and the holy and the godly. And so we have become so consumer focused that it's not serving our spirit or our soul. And I know that sometimes we get overwhelmed by how much stuff we have. But Marie Kondo's whole approach is, what if everything in your life actually sparked your joy? Let's do home supply. Let's do 8. Home supplies, thank you. 9. Kitchen goods and food supplies. And 10, I think is spare change, hobbies, knickknacks. Ooh, oy vey, right? Right? So this week, these 10 areas are our opportunities. All right? And the idea is, I want you to have a life that sparks so much joy in you that your joy is overflowing. But I really, my model is that you're not going to have one piece in your life too much. Not one extra shirt, not one extra pair of shoes that doesn't really spark your joy, or when you put them on, they hurt. Like, right? Not one. I want you to be that focused. And I want you to really begin to look at your living space as a sacred gift, not as a place where you store your junk. Right? Because the moment your place in your mind and in your heart really becomes holy, then only the holy deserves to live with you. When you're that committed to your own joy, that everything in your life, everything in your home actually brings you that level of joy, everything in your life is transformed. Okay. So, one more thing. The last thing I want to say is, when do you do this? I really believe that every time you're going through a life change, it's time to go through your stuff. I believe every time you're ready for a new level in your relationships or in your work, or anytime you have a soul project or a big goal that you have in your life, I believe every time that you're really ready to move into a new direction in your life, it is time to go through almost everything. Let me just quote, everything in your life. And does this make sense in the phase that I'm going? Because it might have made sense 2 weeks ago. But when you make a commitment to a new phase of showing up in a new way, of reinventing yourself, of living a new life, then you have to really go through everything in your life and say, does this align with the man or woman that I'm choosing to be now? And literally look at everything and call it out. Would I wear this as I'm being this person? Would the person that I want to be really wear this shirt that doesn't fit? Does anybody ask you, but it was only $4.99? Right? If it's only, is the reason you bought it's $4.99, then right on the shirt, I wear this because it was $4.99. Right? So everybody gets why you wear something that doesn't fit. Right? Right? And then over and over again, let us be very clear that everything in our life is sacred. That we're sacred. See, that's really the bottom line. If we don't really believe that we're sacred, we surround ourselves in junk. The moment that we truly believe that we're sacred, then we expect a life that is also sacred. But if you've come to believe that you're less than, then you'll accept a life that is just a chaotic mess. But the moment that you truly believe that you're created in the image and likeness of God, that you are God's expression on earth, then everything in your life has to live at that point. Okay, you ready? Did everybody hear me say this? Can I get off my soapbox now? Does everybody believe that I believe this? I do. I 100% believe that we have amazing people drowning in their own junk because for a lot of reasons, but it's time for it to stop. I am the master of my stuff. Will you say that with me? I am the master of my stuff. One more time. I am the master of my stuff. I live in an infinite universe and I am still the master of my stuff. Together? I live in an infinite universe and I am still the master of my stuff. Will you pray with me? I invite you to open your mind, your heart, your soul to the activity of God that is right here, right now. That I am the master and I take dominion over my life. That everything that is in my life is because I've invited it in. I've allowed it to come into my life. And I take that level of dominion. That every cord, every CD, every sock, every hat, every knick-knack, every spoon, every spatula, every seasoning and spice, everything that comes into my life, I've invited in. And if it's not 100% serving me, it's time for it to go. That I choose to live as a spiritual master. I choose to take dominion and mastery over everything. I am the master of my life. I am the master of my home. I am the master of all that I have. In the name and through the power of the living Christ, I give thanks for everything that I have. It's mine. And I make sure that everything in my house serves me. And so it is. Amen.